The title, as you have undoubtedly read, is Nick Fuentes in German, Moving Beyond Sieg, Heil. The response, the reason I'm doing this and reading it, I just got back to Bordeaux and I thought I would do it because the response to my first piece on Nick Fuentes and learning German was so pronounced. I mean, it's modest by other people's terms, but for me it was big. It's one of the biggest responses I've had from any of the videos I've done. I've done over 30 now. And I assume, because of the content, that it very much is the title, the idea of associating German, the language and perhaps the historical experience, Hitler, and Nick Fuentes. And this is stimulated response. Okay, let's get this clear here and try to answer back. I need some comments from you people to understand why you have responded with an interest in what I have to say and what you want to hear about more. This is an appeal to my audience to do that. Comment. If it's negative, positive, I don't mind. I just need to know what you're thinking. And I'll tell you a little bit what I'm thinking initially. Now, there are several things pulling at me here, and we'll talk about them in due course. But in the beginning, I want to just meditate briefly on the most notorious quote from Nick Fuentes ever, which is, "I think Hitler is cool." Now, this provoked predictable responses from the older generation, conservative, middle of the road, liberal, Marxist, the lot was a shower of condemnation. The Jewish lobby, and not just the Jewish lobby, ordinary Jews with their experience and their memories of the Holocaust, the idea that someone of importance, someone with a real power in the social media would say something like that, drives them, regardless of their political perspective, regardless of their take on the Gaza business, drives them mad. So if you're going to say it, you do create an effect, and an effect was created. But I think, quite frankly, as an older generation trying to understand and sort out Generation Z, Generation Z, people like Nick Fuentes, and initially would most of my colleagues, most of my peers find it impossible to sweep away their objection, their initial harsh emotional rejection to someone like Nick Fuentes saying something like that about Hitler. That's obvious. Now, if we're going to get beyond that, which is what I'm attempting to do here, to make this a talking point rather than a hate point, what does Fuentes really mean? And what do we really mean when we respond to that comment? And also a way of thinking intelligently about addressing people we don't agree with who disagree with us or whatever. And I'm not a combatant here, I'm a referee. And I think that's important. But the idea that if Nick Fuentes has anything to offer, it has to be more than, as I say, Sieg Heil, the salute to Hitler. We have to do better than that. I mean, the trouble the Trump administration is having is because they haven't thought things through. They can win power. This is like, to be fair, conservatives in Great Britain. They're really good at winning elections, and they're poor at governing because they don't think things through. And so what I'm really doing, this business of why Nick Fuentes might learn German, or why we might learn German with Nick Fuentes, is to think things through. Because as one of the people who has commented on my video said, Nick Fuentes is going to be president. So if Nick Fuentes, President Fuentes, if that's a plausible idea of him winning power on any level, in any circumstance, then Nick Fuentes has to have his ideas in a line. It has to work. It has to be thought through in some level. Now we come up with the problem I will deal with in the next podcast, which is, this idea of ideas. In the new world, not to put too fine a point on it, ideas are thin stuff. They don't have weight. They aren't seriously considered. The population has not been schooled to think through ideas with care and depth and thought. So the ideas tend to be superficial. Now, this is all dandy at the level of popular discourse and having an impact, and people, you can go on a talk show and chat. That's not government. And if anyone is going to talk seriously about Nick Fuentes being president, we're talking about government, not fooling about with one's opinions on social media. That distinction is essential here. So that's what we're talking about here. Trying to get our ducks in a row, in some sense, our understanding, if you will, what a duck is. And once we've done that, we can proceed. But the Fuentes phenomenon cannot be ignored. There are powerful reasons behind it that the superficial comment, supposedly superficial comment, like things like Hitler is cool, do not reveal. Why Nick Fuentes is popular, why someone would talk about him being president. So if this is a possibility, we've got to start discussing this and talking about it, even if it's a food fight, but we have to do it. So that's what we're going with here, beyond Sieg Heil. Where is the substance here? And I'm going to be a bit European about this, because Europeans know what ideas are. And Americans, well, it's sort of a glorified opinion. That New World thinness will not save Nick Fuentes or America from Nick Fuentes, or America from the opponents of Nick Fuentes. Thin gruel is not enough. So if you're going to talk about European civilization, our Western civilization, or this link between Europe and America across the Atlantic, then that's part of the deal. Europe can provide the intellectual ballast for a political idea, a political campaign, a political movement that needs some ballast, some weight, some substance, not chat, ideas. Okay, that's the motivation. Onward.